Welcome to Chasa's Crazy Creations. Today I'm sharing some upcycling ideas.
This wreath is on my front door. I started with a Dollar Tree wreath form, added a bunch of clothespins around it, and a dollar store mirror. The total on this cost $4. You can find the instructions on my blog. For this project, I used a gallon glass jug and added some cattails. And then inside the glass jug, I stuck some dollar store white lights in. It reminds me of fireflies. I found this pumpkin candle holder at the thrift store. I added a bottle to the center and stuffed orange lights from the dollar store in it. In two flower pots out front, I also added these silverware decor. I placed bent spoons around a solar light and held them in place with gaffer's tape. And then the other project, the flower, I added silverware and wired them into place onto a skewer. On the other side, I used forks and spoons.
Sign up to get 21 free home hacks. Look for the link in the description below.
This glass dish angel is still one of my favorites. I used E6000 and picked up several dishes from the thrift store and glued them together to make this angel. I picked up this chandelier from the thrift store, pulled out all the wiring, placed solar lights in the top, holding them into place with silicone, and then added mason jars to cover the solar lights to protect them from the elements. I can easily unscrew the jars and replace the solar light tops at any time. For this wind chime, I used a dollar store flower basket, turned it upside down, used some shower curtain rings to hold on some utensils that are heirlooms that I wanted to enjoy. It makes a beautiful wind chime sound when blowing in the wind. I also added a solar light at the top to light it up. I made a little lamp for my front porch by finding this little tea light holder at the thrift store. I added a solar light into the hole, and then I found this beaded lampshade at the thrift store as well, and I placed it on top of the solar light. It adds a beautiful glow in the evenings to my front porch. I also made this display by my front porch. It has a flower pot, and I glued on a teapot lid onto a teapot that was cracked at the thrift store. I also added this little crystal bead with silicone to the spout. Then I found another candle holder, and I siliconed the teacup onto the candle holder and placed the two in a flower pot. I also found these little cute flower-looking candle holders at the thrift store. I siliconed them onto a skewer from the Dollar Tree and made little flowers. I picked up a few other odds and ends at thrift stores and other places and put this whole display together. You can find most of these tutorials on my blog.
Which project is your favorite so far? Let me know in the comments below.
For this project, I used candle holders that I found at a thrift store. This one I had painted green. I added a candle holder to the top of it and E6000'd it together. I placed a solar light inside for added glow in the evenings. This candle holder was a different shape, and I had painted it and placed the other candle holder into it. This one I have not glued into the bottom yet. I also placed a solar light inside for added glow in the evenings. Alternatively, you could use a candle holder like this as a cup holder. For this last one, I have not painted it yet, but I'm thinking about doing so. I added a glass lampshade to the top of it and siliconed it into place, adding a solar light to it as well. I found this owl on clearance. I added a glass jar to the inside of him and then pulled the top of a solar light off and placed it inside the glass jar inside the owl. For my dish flowers, I took a pipe that I bought at the hardware store. I took a spoon, flattened one end of it, bent it over, and E6000'd it to a dish. I stacked two dishes on this one, the base dish and the top dish, and I siliconed them together as well. I also created several smaller dish flowers using a dish, and this one has a candle holder siliconed on top. I then took a fork that I found at the dollar store, a serving fork, and siliconed the dishes onto the fork. This one is a broken solar light. The top had broke off, but the light still worked. So I siliconed on some dishes that I turned into flowers onto the solar light. So in the evening, the color changing glows through the dishes. Here is another set of dishes stacked together in a candle holder, and several that I made that are glued onto the forks, again using silicone or E6000. Along with these dish flowers are my copper pipes with glass door handles as flowers as well. I'm in the process of making another one, and this time I'm using a wood spoon E6000 to the back of the dish that will go in my last pipe. Above all of these, I hung with a shepherd's hook a copper tea kettle that I had found at a garage sale. In my flower garden where I planted my lavender recently, I put a shepherd's hook along with my galvanized watering can, and on the front I clipped on some beads to give the illusion that the watering can was watering.
Want to be notified of future videos? Look for the sign up form in the description below.
I found this odd candle holder that was missing all of its glass parts. I added some tea cups that I had found, or punch cups, and I E6000 them into place. Right now they're currently hanging upside down to keep them clean, but I often flip it over and fill it with birdseed. I found this pumpkin sitting at the thrift store. I added a cylinder glass face to the inside and then pulled off the top of a solar light and placed it inside the glass cylinder vase. The pumpkin lights up at night and looks really pretty. By my daughter's flower garden, I placed a watering can that I found at the flea market on a shepherd's hook. I'll probably be adding some beads to this as well. We've also built a bench out of cinder blocks and boards from the hardware store. We polyurthaned the boards to keep them from weathering too bad. My son's birdhouse sits nearby, and on the table I have my tabletop gazing ball, which is a dollar store vase with hot glued rocks from the dollar store and then E6000 into place to hold them. I also have another dish angel that I have E6000 together. And then recently I got my garden all together and ready for the upcoming season. You can find full tutorials on my blog for most of these items, and you can also find out my gardening tips on how to get rid of weeds, as well as how to keep pests out of your garden. For this first project, I found a broken cake stand and added a bowl to the top of it to create a mushroom. I found a metal leaf at a thrift store, and I added a dollar store frog to him. I had so much fun making the mushrooms, I made some more. I used this vase, added some water for weight, and then placed an upside down candle holder in the top. I glued all of these together with E6000. I added some dollar store rocks in between to create kind of a river effect. For this last mushroom, I took a glass cup and a bowl, and I E6000 them together. Once they had dried, I flipped them upside down. I love this little area that I made up by my patio. I had also created this terracotta pot upside down lighthouse. I painted it, added some silicone to stick them together, and a solar light on top. I found this tea light chandelier at a flea market. It was missing all the glass pieces. I had spray painted it, and I took the tops of solar lights and placed them through the holes where the glass had once been. I created this fun chandelier for my back patio. To create a fountain for my back patio, I had a galvanized wash tub that was my grandparents'. I bought a fountain kit for just $11 and placed it inside the wash tub. You could easily do this with a flower pot as well. I found this candle holder at a thrift store, and I added a solar light that I had pulled apart from Walmart and siliconed it inside the candle holder. I found this fun chandelier at IKEA, and instead of putting candles in the top, I siliconed in dollar store solar lights by pulling the tops off and sticking them inside. I added all of these little crystals from various projects that I had saved. For this first project, I took a vase and 3 candle holders that I found at a thrift store. I washed and removed all the tags so they were ready. Next, I will be using E6000 glue to adhere the pieces together. This glue is fantastic and strong. I placed the glue on the top of the vase all the way around. I then did the same thing to the tall candle holder. Put the glue all the way around it. I then took one of the small candle holders and put it upside down on the vase to create a mushroom, and the other candle holder I put upside right on the tall candle holder to make a flower. I let the glue dry completely and then placed them on my front porch next to my glass dish angel.
For this next project, I used this chicken feeder that I found at a thrift store as well as this other dish. Once again, I would be using E6000 for this project. I placed the E6000 on top of the mason jar. I then placed the dish on top of the mason jar and let that dry completely. This dish would serve as a roof to protect the birdseed. I placed birdseed in the bird feeder and then set it out so that birds can enjoy it in my backyard. I also found this lovely blue basket style dish, and all I did was put birdseed in it and place it on a shepherd's hook. Now it's a simple and easy bird feeder. I found this cookie jar and the lid had been broken, but I knew I could do something special with him, so I brought him home. I started by washing him entirely. He had some grease buildup, so I used some Crud Cutter to clean him up. Once he was entirely clean, I went ahead and spray painted him with Rust-Oleum white spray paint. It had a primer built into it. Letting it dry between each coat, I put a total of 2 coats onto this owl. I think that he easily looks like something you could find in Pottery Barn. You could use him inside or out, maybe utensils in your kitchen, or perhaps a plant inside of his head. I intend to do a live plant, but it's a little too early yet, so right now I have fake flowers in him in the meantime. Our kitchen light fixture came with the option for either white or these blue glass shades. We opted for the white, so I had these blue shades to work with for something else. I grabbed 4 solar lights from the dollar store to go with the 4 light shades. I put silicone on top of each solar light. Then I placed one of the glass shades on top of the solar light and I let it dry. Here's a glimpse at all 4 of them while they were drying. I then placed the solar lights in a few repurposed pots and pans that I had on hand. I spread them apart across one section of my yard. And I hope this inspires you to do some summer decorating of your own. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel and my blog at chascrazycreations.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Want 21 sensible home hacks to make you a smarter homeowner? Look for the link in the description below, and it's free.